Welcome back to Gamecock Extra. I'm Chandler Mack, Locked On Gamecock podcast host and Gamecock Digest writer Andrew Lyon back with us. Andrew, no secret, it's going to be a difficult task ahead for South Carolina this weekend with 5th-ranked Tennessee coming to town. Vols are averaging an SEC best 544 yards per game on offense. Meanwhile, the Gamecocks, they rank 10th in the conference in total defense, and they just gave up a season-high 515 yards to the Gators in a 32-point loss.
The simple way to put it is nothing went right for South Carolina this past Saturday. I mean, obviously it all starts with the rush defense. Then this is something that has turned to a reoccurring theme for this team throughout this season. And Florida, when looking back, hindsight's 2020, they are one of the worst matchups in terms of trying to stop the run because of all the weapons they have in that offensive backfield. Obviously, it started with Anthony Richardson and his threat with his legs, but also, of course, Montrell Johnson and Trevor Etienne. And it seemed like the Gamecocks just weren't able to fit their gaps properly. Of course, missed tackles was once again a little bit of a minor issue. And when you combine that with some of the injuries that the team has dealt with, especially on the back end this year, which can affect that communication, it was just a recipe for what happened this past Saturday. And South Carolina just got down too much to where offensively they just weren't ever really able to seemingly get into a rhythm and find a flow to where they could try to mount a comeback attempt.
Obviously, we have a fun matchup in the secondary Saturday with Cam Smith and Darius Rush facing off against the Tennessee wide receivers, particularly Dutch Fork grad Jalen Hyatt, who leads the SEC with 1,116 receiving yards and 15 touchdowns. Andrew, how difficult will it be for Carolina to stop someone who many people consider to be the best wide receiver in the country?
Chandler, there's no doubt this is going to be one of the toughest challenges for this South Carolina secondary that they have had all season. Obviously, when you talk about Jalen Hyatt, the first thing that pops off the screen is the speed. And when you combine that with the tempo that the Tennessee Volunteers like to run on offense, they're one of the most quickly paced offenses in the entire country, meaning that they pretty much, when that last play happens and everything is done, they get right up to the line, the ball is set, and they are snapping the football. That fits Jalen Hyatt's skill set perfectly. He can take the top off of a defense. They also like to do a bunch of routes where basically he switches routes with the receiver right next to him, where it can really confuse South Carolina's defensive backs if they are not on their heels on Saturday night. And so obviously it's going to be one that's going to be tough for South Carolina fans to watch, considering the fact that, he is a local product out of Dutch Fork High School, but certainly one of the biggest challenges this secondary has had up to this point in the season.
Yeah, and on Tuesday, Shane made sure that he clarified he was not here when Jalen got recruited out of Dutch Fork. So, yeah, he made sure he clarified that. Well, Andrew, Carolina, they've won 3 of the last 6 matchups in this series, and 8 of the last 10 contests, they've been decided by 6 points or less. Obviously, Tennessee has changed a lot over the last year. So what will the Gamecocks have to do to give themselves a fighting chance Saturday night?
There's no doubt Beamer Ball is going to have to come into play in this one. You're going to have to outperform the Tennessee Volunteers on special teams, whether that means you get a return touchdown, maybe a block, a punt, or a field goal. Get yourself some good field position and, get yourself some turnovers defensively. South Carolina, for some of the things that they have been lacking in on that side of the ball over the last few weeks, they've been one of the better teams in the SEC this year in terms of forcing turnovers, especially interceptions. And obviously, Hendon Hooker, again, very smart quarterback, rarely puts the ball in harm's way. But if South Carolina wants a formula to pull off the massive upset on Saturday night, turnovers and great special teams play through Beamer Ball, that is the way they're going to have to do it.
All right, thanks, Andrew. Carolina will look to get their first victory against Tennessee at Williams-Brice Stadium since beating them back in 2016.